Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Really, what I want to go over today is just a few things. I want to go over just basically talking and generalizing how people view the world today and view these social issues specifically referring to the war on drugs. And what I also do want to talk about is the spiritual films that are coming out as during the Easter time, when Christians are celebrating, and then you have Passover, of course, but Christians are celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So basically, those are the two of the things I want to talk about. Let me go ahead and first get started with the whole war on drugs and how people sort of think about that. Now, I had a conversation yesterday with a group of friends that I grew up with. Well, not grew up with, but just went to high school with. And basically, they were debating on the whole war on drug saga and how we should handle it as a society. And their argument is to have big government to be able to handle the people who do basically commit those crimes and use and abuse drugs, and also the drug cartels and stuff. So essentially just use big government to crack down on the war on drugs, when the government actually had caused the war on drugs to happen in the first place. See, here's the thing. When we had prohibition back when they decided to outlaw alcohol, a black market had been created. The price of alcohol had skyrocketed under that black market, so therefore they were able to make huge amounts of profits because of the inflated prices of alcohol. Now fast forward, the alcohol prohibition didn't quite work out as well, so they, instead of continuing to do that, they decided to move on and illegalize drugs. So what happened there? Well, of course, prices went up on these same drugs. The government went in and they have their own gangs, drug gangs that they control. Oh, excuse me. And because they have their drug gangs they control the black market. Now, what happens there? Well, because they control the market, they receive all the profits, and for the drug dealers who aren't working for the government, they're the ones who do get thrown in jail for not abiding to the drug laws, when in reality the government created drug laws to spike prices so that way they can make more profits for themselves. Now, alright, here's what's also important about this is we have a private prison system. We incarcerate around 20% of the American population, but we also incarcerate around 4% of the world's population, and that's 4% of the entire planet's population is in U.S. prisons, and a lot of it has to do with the U.S. war on drugs. So what happens there is major corporations come into these prisons, they hire these prisons to do manual labor for them, and then the inmates who may or may not be innocent or may not be there because of the drug war, they're in there to work for cents out of the dollar per hour for these major corporations, when you have a mom and pop store that might be selling and producing the same products. They're competing with labor that costs only 10-20 cents an hour to be able to make the same product. So really, there's a lot that goes on in the war of drugs, and the government had created that problem. You have to understand the Hegelian dialectic, and when you understand the Hegelian dialectic, you know why, or you know how the government controls these markets. It's problem, reaction, solution. The government creates the problems. They see the reaction of the general public, and they offer a solution. Let me dovetail that into the drug war. Well, they create the problem. They legalize drugs, illegalize drugs. They see the reaction of everybody. Well, you have drug gangs popping out into the black market. The prices are going up, making huge profits. And for those who are doing it but who aren't under the control of the government, they're the ones who are thrown in prison, and which is the solution. They're the ones thrown in prison who are forced to do manual labor on only 10-20 cents out of the dollar. So really, The problem is, and they're great people, but they're not thinking on the macro sense. They're only thinking the micro sense, because they're talking about taking personal responsibility, which I totally agree 100% with, that they need to take responsibility. We all need to take personal responsibility for what we do. But in a macro sense, the government is directly responsible for the war on drugs, so therefore you cannot incarcerate people who are dealing with substance abuse issues because because it's a sickness. It's not a crime, but the government acts like it's a crime because you're cutting into their profits when you're involved in that, whether you're the drug dealer or you're the person buying the drugs and getting hooked on it. You're cattle to the government, and you're forced into labor, basically. So my point is, with that whole debate that I had on Facebook last night, was generally just to point out that we need to look beyond ourselves, and we need to look in the macro sense, and we need to look out into the world that is beyond us. And when we start thinking outside the box, then we could start looking at solutions in terms of trying to deal with these social issues that do include the drug war, and many other social issues as well, like the fraudulent Federal Reserve and what they're doing, and why inflation is so high. Alright, now that I got that done and I got that out of the way, and really what I do encourage people to do is look up Freeway Ricky Ross. Not the rapper Ricky Ross, but the real Rick Ross. The guy who actually was part of the drug gang cult and got out of it after spending some time in prison. And he came out and has started to fight against it, and he continues to fight against the whole drug war and the drug culture in general. So that's just something to look into. I encourage people to do more research on it. Just don't rely on me here to give you this information. I know as much as I understand, so to speak. So just do your research, because I'm not perfect. Anyways, what I also want to talk about, now that I talked about the whole drug war and how that got started and what the government is doing now, let me go ahead and do something a little bit different. And I believe that one of the things that I believe is encouraging that's coming out sometime in the spring during the Easter time, the Passover time, is the religious films that are coming out. Most notably, a film called The Son of God, depicting the life of Jesus Christ and his, and of course, his ability to lead a group of people against a oppressive Roman government. And of course, Rome is a direct allegory of what America is today. Rome was a beautiful Republican democracy. Of course, they were a republic. They had more wealth than anyone could ever imagine. Then all of a sudden, they fell apart. They collapsed, similarly to what we're going through today. So, which is a perfect film, because definitely you get to learn, or hopefully you get to learn. I haven't seen the film yet, of course, because it hasn't been released, but you'll get an idea, understanding what it was like during that time period under the Roman Empire, and you get maybe a visual sense of what Jesus Christ himself went through his political prosecution. Another film that I also encourage people to go and check out, and of course I haven't seen this film yet because it hasn't been released, is the film with Russell Crowe called Noah. And basically talking about, or that film depicts the entire story of Noah's Ark. Noah is, and just give you a quick rundown, Noah is given a warning by God, I'm going to flood the world 40 days and 40 nights. You better prepare an ark. I want you to take 2 of every animal, 1 male, 1 female, so that they can procreate later on after this disaster. And I'm going to go ahead and wipe out all the sins and wipe out all the disgusting things mankind had done up until that point. It really looks really interesting from what I saw in the trailer from that movie, and also the new Son of God movie as well. So I highly suggest people go ahead and check that out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, subscribe, rate, like me, hate me, And remember, oh yeah, and plus subscribe too. I would love subscriptions. But remember, you are your own superstar. All right, you're your own superstar. So take care. God bless, and have a great night and great day tomorrow. Bye.